Hello everyone, welcome back to Voiceletter from Canada. And this week I actually changed the schedule a little bit. Before I uploaded two videos, Japanese version of Voiceletter from Canada and also English version on the same day. It was really busy for me like every time. It's just a bi-weekly show, but I find it was really busy. So I decided to actually change the schedule. So this week, if you guys are interested in listening to this, of course, but you guys are listening to this radio already a week before it's originally scheduled. And this week, I invited Mr. Searching again. Hello, Searching.
Hello, Ms.Bean. It's good to be back. Thank you.
Welcome. Surprisingly, a lot of people are actually very curious and excited to hear both of us talking to each other about, random things.
Mhm.
So I wanted to bring it back again. And this week, because I interviewed you last week, this week I want to ask you different questions and start discussing about it. Are you
Okay.
excited?
I am super excited. Give it to me. Come on.
Very good. So this week, I'm sure a lot of you guys are interested in how to study English. And a lot of you probably already understand, and some of you are still working on how to study English. And I myself teach English online. And I'm very curious how you guys learn English and how we can actually learn English together. And actually, a lot of you are interested in my channel because I decided to do this bilingual streaming, bilingual uploads, both in Japanese and English. And today's, I don't know if I should be calling you still guest. You're becoming my host. He speaks very good English. No, I shouldn't say good English. Speak English very well.
No, it's not perfect.
But I'm sure a lot of you guys are interested in how a person who speaks English as a second language actually learned how to speak English. Including myself, most of you guys don't speak English as a first language. It's more like used as a common language. So today I want to interview him and ask him questions about how Searching learned English. So are you ready, Searching?
I'm ready.
Great. Okay, first question.
Yes.
How did you study English?
Well, first of all, when I was going to school, there was no option actually to learn English. With
Like
us,
it
it was
wasn't
always
mandatory.
Yeah, no, totally not. There was no option. There was no choice because here in Belgium, English is not really main priority. You can learn it whenever you want, but I think you have the chance to learn it when you go to university.
Okay. But did you have any opportunity or any classes you could take when you were still junior high or high school? And also, what other language did you actually learn?
Well, for us it was like our main language, Dutch and French, because that's the two main languages that we have here in Belgium. So I always got French. I hated it, honestly. I never liked it. I really I was really terrible at it. Every single year I flunked French. I just couldn't keep it in my head. It was really terrible. And it was very basic, just pronouncing your name, introducing yourself in French, and that was really basic. But I just felt like I wasn't really interested in it because it didn't stay in my head.
Right. It's just all memorizing, and
Yeah.
it's hard to motivate yourself if you just memorize words.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Because I didn't like the language, how it sounded. And I think from that moment on, I was really oh no. that's never gonna stay in my head, never. So at a certain point, I started seeing a lot of videos, like in that time on MTV and everything, like music videos, and I felt like some kind of connection. Like I felt that link with English, but it wasn't really that. From that moment on, like there's a little bit of a story behind it, so I'm gonna try to keep it short again. At a certain point, I come to a music video on MTV, and I find it very catchy. It's like, okay, that sounds really good. Like I like the style and everything about it. And I kept seeing it again and again, and I start to like remember the lyrics a little bit more and more. But at the same time, I didn't really know what they were saying. There's like a difference between like you singing along, but do you actually know what they're saying?
Right.
So I got really hooked on the song. And then when I got older, at a certain point something changed actually. I started to get more interested in what the singers were actually singing about. So I started to listen to the songs again.
How old were you?
I think it was around 17, 18, something like that.
Okay, so it's late before you get to 20, I guess.
Yeah.
When you're still teenager.
Yeah. And I find that it was very interesting to actually pronounce those words also in English. But like I said, at the same time, I still didn't really know what they were talking about. I just found it very interesting the way it sounded and everything, the way I pronounced it. And I think from that moment on, I was very interested in the language. So I started to do some research about what the song is about, because I was really into the music and stuff like that. And I think from that moment on, everything started to change, because my mind was motivated with the music itself, and it wanted to know more. You know, I started to learn more about what they're singing about, what's the video about, stuff like that, because I found it very intriguing for me. And automatically my brain started to learn every single word. Like, okay, I'm gonna look it up, what does it mean? Because I was motivated and because I wanted to know more about it. But at the same time, it wasn't really like okay, I want to learn the language that badly. I wasn't really focused on that, because that came automatically with me. It was more about learning the language by listening to the music, because I was more into the music, the way it sounded and what kind of feeling it gave me. And I think that's how I actually started to learn English a little bit more and more.
But how did you actually learn about grammar or anything? Like, did you actually have a chance to open up textbook?
No, totally not. There was nothing like that.
So you were just following lyrics?
Yeah.
And that's all?
And that's all. Yeah, I never learned English properly, like in school or somewhere. I just kept listening to the music, started to learn the words, singing along, started to learn what they're singing about, what kind of emotion it gave them, stuff like that. And that's how I actually learned English. And also from watching movies.
Wow. This is very interesting for me because a lot of learners, especially in Asian countries, the first thing I can think of is people go to school, open up textbook. And in Japan, English education is mandatory from a junior high school, which is grade 7. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's like 6 years until graduate high school. And some elementary schools, which is between grade 1 to 6, So age range would be like 6, 7 to like 11, 12. Those kids they don't have to study English, but a lot of the places actually are encouraging kids to learn. So there are more classes and programs for kids to learn English. But this educational system is out there for such a long time, and a lot of people still complain that Japanese people can't speak English. And why is that? You didn't even have the opportunity. And you didn't go to school to study English. And your English level is fluent enough to travel by yourself and communicate with native speakers. So what's the difference between this system in Japan and like you didn't open a textbook but eventually learned how to speak English? What do you think is the major difference?
I think the major difference is that it doesn't come naturally. I think that's always been an issue. It's the same here in Belgium, and when foreigner people come over here and they have to learn the language before they start doing a job and stuff like that, and they go to school and they can learn the language, and it's for free and everything like that, and they have several classes, they have to follow several levels of grammar, of course, and the problem with that is that it's nobody speaks the way it's in the book.
Right.
No, nobody talks like that. Like if you read that book and you learn it like that, nobody talks like that. Nobody ever talked like that, because it's like proper Dutch. You know, it's very, how you see it, sophisticated. You know, it's I see it like that. It's very proper, very clean. And I think that's the biggest difference. That okay, when you're young, when you're a kid and you're still growing up, before even you go to high school, your brain is still developing a lot, and you learn words much faster. When you get older, it's much harder, of course, but it also depends a little bit on how motivated you are also.
Yeah, I think motivation is really important.
How badly do you actually want to learn the language? Because I think if it's like a main course that you have to follow, it's very hard to convince a young kid or a young teen to study the language. If they're not interested, they'll never learn. They will never learn. It's very hard to put it in their heads. If they don't find it interesting, then yeah, they will learn a little bit, but they will never be able to speak the language very fluently.
So what you're saying is a lot of people in Europe generally speak good English, like fluent English. They are more motivated to learn, they have reasons to learn English, and versus, for example, people in Japan, you think that most people are not motivated to learn English. That's why a lot of people can't speak English.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm talking about. But okay, ask yourself this question: do they? Because you teach English, and you're doing it now for quite a long time, and you can also tell, of course, if somebody is really motivated to learn the language or not. I think you see it at first hand, of course, every single day. If people they're coming back and they're like, you start talking to them in English, you can hear from their voice if they're actually really motivated to learn the language or not.
I find some people are more like desperate to learn English. Like a lot of people I see they are motivated to learn are desperate because they need to speak English to live. Because one day your boss tap your shoulder and tell you, okay, we need English tomorrow. Then you suddenly decide to take class online and like, oh, I need to speak English tomorrow. Okay, let's find out if that's possible. But
there you go back to the whole point that it's more forced than it's not fluently, you know? It's not like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna start learning English because I want to. No, tomorrow I have to start learning English because I have to. There's a really big difference between that, because you get all that pressure on top of you and you have to prove yourself in some way. And I think that's the worst kind you can have if you want to learn a language. Like, I love speaking English. I really do. Like, I do it every day.
Do you speak English at work?
Yeah, because there's a colleague of mine who's from Ghana, and he lives here now for like 5 years, and his Dutch is still terrible. But we communicate in English because we understand each other much better. To work together, we know each other how to work together, and it's much more fluently. If I would talk to him in Dutch the whole day, I think at the end of the day we would like rip each other's head off or something. I don't know.
See, that's another thing. You have the opportunity to speak English, and you kind of have to, because like you said, if you can't communicate with him, you get so frustrated and he gets frustrated, so it doesn't work. The best way you guys can find is speaking in English, right? So for you have the opportunity and you're motivated to communicate with this person. And historically, I think there are a lot of immigration happen between European countries, and then so many different languages. They are quite similar for a foreigner like me. I think third language like English was kind of necessary, because someone comes from a different country and the first thing you can think of is speaking in English, right? Do you try to speak in their language? Probably it's hard. And English is also alphabet, and you use alphabet as well.
Yeah.
So for me, for European people, definitely you guys have advantage of learning English. First thing is alphabet. Use the same word. And for example, in Japan, like I talked about this so many times during my streams, you kind of have to know Japanese to travel Japan, live in Japan. A lot of people come to Japan, eventually learn Japanese. Why? Because it's necessary. I see this another desperation. We have to do it, so we do it. They have to do it. That's why they can speak Japanese. That's why maybe some people can speak Dutch fluently one day. It must have been challenging for a lot of people, but eventually they learn. But at the same time, a lot of people speak good English, for example, in Belgium. So I find it's not really only about motivation. It's almost like desperation. Because for me, it's the same. Some people asking why you speak English, because I live in Canada. I have to. I don't know a lot of people speak Japanese around me. It's just what I do every day. It's not really motivation. It's my desperation. I have to do it. But like you said, like I've seen some kids who are very motivated to study. They are motivated to talk. So they're also motivated to speak in English. Probably those kids will learn way faster than grown-ups. You know, they're forced to learn and take lessons online.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe this is gonna be my last question for you. Or for us. Any tips and advice on people who wants to speak English?
Any tips and advice? Well, it all starts with the person itself. If the person thinks about, okay, the language English, is it interesting for me? Do I have to learn it? Again, of course, with work and everything, I can understand that's a different matter. But it all starts with how bad do you really want it. Do you find the language interesting to learn? It all starts with that. But at the same time, of course, I can understand there are people who have works, who have jobs, and they have to learn the language, at least a little bit, to at least communicate a little bit in English. I also understand that it's not easy, and their bosses probably forces them into a corner a little bit. That okay, you have to make work out of it, and you have to like start to learn a little bit. But like I said, if you have a chance to really learn it, do it from something that you like to do. Like for example, I watch movies, I listen to music, and I learn the words like that. And you keep repeating yourself. You keep listening to the same song over and over again till you can actually sing the song in English. Something like a song that you really like it's very catchy, you can sing along with it. It's very simple, you know. Or you watch a movie. If there's an opportunity to watch it in English, do it with subtitles, if that makes it easier for you to understand it. Because the thing is with me, if I watch movies now, I still put the subtitles under it, because they're always words that I'll never seen before, and I automatically learn them. So for me, it's always the easiest, like start with something simple, something like music or movies. I would advise the people who really are interested in English, do it from that point of view. It's much easier than learning it from a book, because you have to start learning with all the grammar and everything. It's very hard. It's a very long process. That's my opinion, of course. And you, as Ms.Bean, you're the teacher, so I don't want to...
Before I stopped you? Don't worry about it, I'm just listening.
Because maybe it could be my last time I'm going to be in... Oh, you little...
You're fired, Searching.
Yes.
Well, I understand what you're saying. Actually, that's what I'm trying to do with my students who are willing to take a lesson with me. Find something you're interested. Find something you can make a connection with. Anything is okay. Movie, music, could be a book. You know, could be maybe pictures. It could be like I don't know, like a little poem. Anything. If you are interested in pets, cats, maybe you might find anything interesting from that.
Yes. Start very small. That's the best advice.
I'm trying to encourage people to find something they like, but the hardest part is it's hard to start something that you have no idea what's going on and then keep doing it. So starting from a textbook is actually not a bad idea, because do you want to watch a movie that you have no idea what this person is saying for 2 hours, versus open up a textbook which is telling you what's going on in your language. It maybe takes like 30 minutes to complete 2 pages. Which one would you choose? It's up to you.
Yeah, of course.
Some people find that struggles. So I used to recommend people to watch movies, dramas, listen to music, but actually I don't do it now, because I can understand that you don't want to spend 2 hours, nowadays 3 hours movie, to listen to something that you have no idea what's going on. But it's always a good way to get used to the language. And sometimes you don't even need to understand what they're saying 100%, right? Just watch the picture. Enjoy the scenes, you know, explosion, splatter, all those things. You don't need any words, right?
No, totally not.
So, like you said, it's important that you enjoy it first. But there is no right or wrong way for anyone to start learning a new language. And no one's perfect anyways, you know. There is no like traditional orthodox, you know, language of words. Some old people want to talk about it, but I personally don't believe in that. So just learn the language the way you want.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's the best opinion, I guess. Just learn it the way you find is best and what's enjoyable for you, of course.
Yeah, that's.
And take breaks. You don't have to force yourself also into it, of course.
Yeah, I think so. Because it's hard to keep doing something you don't even enjoy. Like, at a certain point, you realize, you know, I'm done with it. I can't do this anymore. What am I doing exactly? Like, what's this English? I don't speak English anyways. I don't use it anyways. So I recommend people to start something they want. And I feel bad about one student actually I have now. She has an older brother. And her brother is taking lessons online too. But he is taking this lesson from people in Philippines, so like Filipino English. And my student, she is 14, I think. She had the English lesson with this Filipino person and for 25 minutes. And she didn't like it at all. Like, she didn't know where to start the conversation. She couldn't deal with this, like, you know, endless, almost feel like endless conversation, which is just 25 minutes. And she couldn't express herself. But it could be a good start. Could be a good start to get used to this English-only environment. But again, I don't really want to force her to keep doing this if that's what she doesn't enjoy. But I remember about myself, went to this English conversation school when I was a high school kid, and I had to speak with native speakers. That time I couldn't even talk about time. Like 5:15. What time is 5:15? It's 3:45. What time is 3:45? So
It's a quarter.
Exactly. And that time it was just torturing for me to spend this like almost an hour class with a native speaker. Every time I went to class, I almost cried coming back home because it was torturing. It's almost like a boot camp every time.
Yeah.
But now I think about it, it was necessary. I wanted to speak English. It was hard, but I was motivated. And I did it.
That's the difference, of course. If you're motivated, then you'll learn much faster also.
And again, it's a desperation. I had to speak English, so I was desperate.
But you were motivated. That's a big difference also, of course.
Yeah.
You have the combinations of the two, so...
Right. So I hope you guys can find a way to, you know, enjoy yourself and learn a new language. It doesn't matter what language you learn. You know, Japanese, Dutch, English, it doesn't matter. I hope you guys find a good reason for yourself to motivate and get desperate to learn a new language. Anyways, I'm gonna stop here for today. Thank you very much for coming again, Searching. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, it was my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me again, Ms.Bean.
Are you ready to come back for the next one?
Always.
Always. So if you guys are lucky, if he is lucky, and I'm happy enough, and he's gonna come back next time. So thank you guys for listening and spending like almost 30 minutes. And I hope to see you guys again. Bye bye.
Bye bye.